It's a Thursday, which means Gran Turismo 7 has a brand new lap time challenge for players to go ahead and tackle for the upcoming 2 weeks. However, before I take you through everything about this new challenge, let's go ahead and do a quick little self-plug. I'm trying to get this channel to 70,000 subscribers, so if you want to stay up to date with everything GT and motorsport gaming related, then feel free to leave a like, subscribe and turn your notifications on. Anyway, let's get to it then. Here we go, lap time challenge, Dragon Trail Gardens. This is the one without the death chicane. The car we're using here is the Audi R8 4.2 R-Tronic from 2007. As for the finer details, top 3% is gold, top 5% is silver, and top 10% is bronze. Of course, the track we're using here is Dragon Trail Gardens. The entry period is the 21st of August until the 4th of September 2025. Usable tyres are sports hards, wide body is prohibited, and nitrous and overtake prohibited. Your specified car is of course the first generation of Audi R8. The car restrictions BOP is set to mid-speed, and you can use both garage and event specified car. The car settings are specified, and as for the race settings, normal track limits and both penalties are set to 1 then. So let's go ahead and kick the video off then with the general tips section. This is everything you need to know to work your way around the track in the best way possible, and we'll start then with assists off. I fully recommend having every assist off for this car, as assists just tend to completely bog it down. Whilst the Audi R8 we're using here is all-wheel drive, unfortunately it can be very twitchy and very sensitive, so I fully recommend just having those assists off to maintain your speed. Next up, once again, all about car control, manual transmission. This is an absolute godsend. If you haven't tried manual transmission in Gran Turismo 7, or you don't feel confident enough, then honestly this is a great time trial to learn it. This car is very gear dependent, and being in the correct gear at the correct time is absolute key for shaving off those few temps that you may need. Now, in terms of the rest of it, before you even go ahead and enter, you can head over to qualifying time rankings, global rankings, and load up the fastest in the world replays. This way you can see what the current fastest times are doing, and it's the exact same once you do enter. Head over to the ranking board once again, global rankings, and then if you see this little icon, go ahead and load up the ghost. That way you can follow it very nice and easy. And the final general tip I have is to do with the track limits here. Now, there's some very nice runoff curves here that you can take massively. There's also a few corners where you can get a nice little cut right on the inside to shave off a few tenths of a second. However, there's an incredibly fine line between penalty and clean lap, so just be aware of it. The best thing I recommend here is just to do a few out laps, learn where you can cut, and learn when that cutoff is for the penalties and clean laps. So next up then, let's move in to the car itself. These are going to be car specific things that I picked up on during this time trial. Now, in terms of the car itself, of course, this is the Audi R8 4.2 from 2007, the original Audi R8. This is a 4.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 putting out 414 brake horsepower and is, of course, all-wheel drive. It has a 6-speed gearbox and weighs 1560 kg, which does seem quite heavy, but overall I would say it feels like a relatively lightweight car. It goes on for a top speed of 194 miles per hour. Of course, we are not going to be hitting that speed here. And another thing to note is that it is very twitchy. Yes, it's all-wheel drive. Yes, there's plenty of grip and such. However, it is all about throttle control and just being aware that the change in direction this car has is incredibly aggressive. Now, of course, certainly on paper, the stats seem okay. It feels like a car that could be incredibly usable, but I would say that's not necessarily the case, and I definitely would say it's not really a beginner-friendly car, just because of how it drives in GT7 on the current physics. Again, very aggressive, very twitchy, and very much dependent on throttle control. And of course, this being the older generation of Audi R8, it's a car that probably many people haven't used in a very very long time, or maybe at all. Of course, the older generation of Audi R8 did get a post-launch update with the V10 variant coming a couple of years ago, I believe. So unfortunately, this car has been completely phased out from GT7 and has only really shown its face very recently with this lap time challenge. So I think a lot of people will probably be quite rusty. If you do want to pick one up for yourself though, 166,700 credits will get you this car in your garage. And again, as for the stats, they don't seem too bad on paper, but that doesn't always kind of transfer over into the actual gameplay of GT7. So if you're not that confident, you may actually struggle driving this car. So let's move in to the lap itself then. This is my current fastest lap at the time of recording this video. There is plenty of room for improvement over the next few weeks. So first of all, head over to the right hand side, look for the black track boards and brake just before the second. You want to be in 5th gear. Once the car starts kicking out the rear, get into 4th and then just dab the brakes and use a bit of throttle control. Bring the throttle in and absolutely hammer it out nice and wide, ready for the next corner. Again, it can be a little bit awkward into that turn 1, but once you've got it down, it's not too bad. Just before the 100 board and the curb, brake nice and hard, keeping the car in 3rd gear and do a nice little cut here on the left hand side. It will upset the balance of the car as soon as you're about to do the right hander, down into 2nd, cut the sausage curb, and then you're going to do it once again after short shifting up to 3rd gear on the left. Bring the car out nice and wide, full throttle, and away you go. That is perhaps one of the most awkward sections of this track, and also the final bit as well can be a little bit more on the awkward side, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. Full throttle all the way down the straight and get ready to brake just there at the 150 board. Bring the car into the left hander and then accelerate full throttle out, and again shift up as you get onto the curb. Now this section of the track isn't too bad. Keep it in 4th gear, lift and then dab the brakes. Keep it all the way over to the left, and as soon as you're about to go over to the right as this gravel starts, get the car into 3rd gear and once again perform another little cut. Try not to take too much curb there or it will invalidate your time and massively unbalance the car. Then switch back over to the left and pretty much rinse and repeat. As you exit the corner, full throttle out wide up onto the curb. The curb will sort of take you around with it. Try not to take too much once again or it will invalidate you. And just as this sort of downhill section ends, get on the brakes and get into 3rd gear. Now you're going to cut onto the inside of the right hander, and this is where it gets extremely messy and extremely awkward. Now what you're looking for here is the 3rd right hand section, in which you're then going to absolutely plant the throttle and the car should naturally run out wide, back into the apex of the final right hander and then out wide once again. It's incredibly awkward to explain it and it's incredibly awkward to do. Definitely a very tricky section of the track. Anyway, you want a nice run back up the straight, and then just as the 150 board ends and the 100 curb begins, slam those brakes on nice and hard. Now get the car in 2nd gear, cut the inside and let the car run out very, very wide. Dab the brakes once again to get the car to rotate, short shift to 3rd and full throttle out. Now there's a cut there, and as you can see, it just unbalances the car that little bit too much, and it does run me just slightly too wide. Thankfully, we do just survive it there, avoiding that penalty, and we can go full throttle all the way to the line. And unfortunately, that last section there just narrowly misses out on a 143. But overall, a very, very awkward but decent enough lap. Best enough for 9th in the world at the time of recording this video. Definitely a time that I can probably quite easily improve on. I think probably overall my best lap could be something like a 143.7, maybe a 143.8. Anyway, a huge thank you to everybody that's watched this video, and a huge thank you to all of my channel members listed on screen now. I hope you have a fantastic day wherever you may be, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care guys, peace.